Jamie calling in. What's going on?
Good evening. Just enjoying my Saturday morning here.
Excellent. I love how everyone else is enjoying their mornings as they're watching the show. We're enjoying our night. It's really fantastic. So what's going on, JB? What did you want to talk to us about?
Well, my specific experience with MLMs actually happened in the USA.
Of course.
I'm a fairly old chap now, but when I was in my 20s, I happened to be pretty handy on a BMX bike, and I was actually taken to Los Angeles to race BMX. And just by coincidence, my friend's sister, who I was pretty keen on, was in Fresno. So I went to visit her. And when I got up there, where she was staying, the father said, "Hey, I want to show you a business model that you might be interested in." And I'm like, "Okay." And he sat down with a little a whiteboard, and started explaining this to me. And I was just absolutely perplexed about what he was talking about. And then I sort of looked around. I saw on the fridge lots and lots of photos of these people standing next to expensive cars wearing fur coats, and they'd been to an Amway conference, which was like an aspirational thing where you go in there and they try and get you all pumped up on how much money you're going to make. And I was sort of piecing it together, and turns out this guy had sort of evolved from just the Amway product into selling the actual Amway materials. And his garage was just completely full of audio tapes. And that was his big thing. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was kind of like, okay. And that's interesting. And he knew I wasn't a real prospect. Anyway, I returned home, and subsequently I had a good friend, or two good friends, and my brother all ring me up and go, "Hey, I've got a business model for you." And I'm like, "Is this Amway?" And I just said, "Look, you can come and practice your business model on me and your pitch, but I'm not going to buy into it. I might buy the products. Some of the Amway products are actually pretty good, but I'm not getting into this multi-level thing." So it was quite the experience. So I've been around the traps with that, and I think the advice to people I would give if someone approaches you is to just straight up just say, "Dude, I love you. I understand what you're doing. If you want to practice on me, but I'm not going to get into this. I'm not going to be a level for you." You got to be really upfront, because they will just come at you and at you and at you over time. And, it can really kill the friendship.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice, Jamie. And I think that's something I should have mentioned earlier. Yeah, definitely. You can put your foot down with these people and say, "Hey, like, I know what you're trying to do, and like, I would prefer not to be involved." And also, you had mentioned that you were thinking at the time of maybe buying some of the products. And I'm not like picking on you or anything, but I do suggest that people don't buy products from MLMs, even if they're not going to join the MLM itself, because you are giving money to a company that oppresses females and minorities. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm not sure if you did buy them from them or not, but yeah, I just suggest that people don't do that.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
You did? Okay.
I did buy some. Look, I was very naive back in the day, but yes, I certainly take that advice. The other thing I wanted to mention was I was watching Leah Remini's Scientology series the other night, and she mentioned that the people that they flogging the books on the street actually get a cut of I think they mentioned 10% of the books and 15% of the services when they do these interviews with you. They get a kickback, and I sort of thought, oh God, that sounds familiar. But it's not a true MLM, because you don't get the multi-layer thing happening. But the Scientology is like merging the Nazis with Amway to me, and instead of selling a product, they're selling a mindset, which is not a deliverable good.
Yeah.
And it's really insidious. Like, it's not cool. And a lot of Scientologists actually do get into MLMs as a side way of bringing people into Scientology, and vice versa. I guess it's a double-edged sword there. And it's just, it just, like, turns people's lives upside down. It's so heartbreaking to see it.
It's interesting that you mentioned Scientology because, yeah, I've heard that too of people getting kickbacks from selling things in Scientology. And that kind of seemed a little like MLM to me. But there are actually a lot of Scientologists that are also involved in MLMs. I can't like go too much in detail about it, but I've had some experience with a certain person that was a Scientologist that is an MLM coach now. He teaches other people about MLM. So, yeah, there's a lot of involvement between the two.
Surprise, surprise. Yeah, I got a note from my producer. Thetans was the word I was looking for earlier. I said thetas when we're talking about stuff. So I have an awesome crew that fact checks me when we're talking about this stuff. But yeah, so like
on your Thetans.
Yeah, the Thetans, you know, one thing that I notice, and I know you know about this too, Taylor, is they will often talk about how it's not MLMs, it's direct selling. Like direct selling is a term that's used because depending on who you talk to, direct selling can be a bit more of a legitimate business practice, question mark. You know, I'm not a business scholar. I don't know. I couldn't tell you all the ins and outs, but there's at least conversation there. And I don't know if Scientologists would practice that, but I imagine that might be one way they might kind of try to sell that.
And multi-level marketing is not direct selling. So direct selling is a legitimate business model. That's where people are just purchasing inventory from a company and selling it and making money from that. But there's no like recruiting involved. But a lot of MLM companies like to say it's direct selling, so it sounds more legitimate.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, so maybe Scientology would play into that at all. But point is, like, yeah, I could definitely see how there's some ties into all of this. I mean, like, we already talked about the intersection between other religious practices and MLM practices, and the thinking that goes into joining both of those things is also true beyond just the selling practices, quote unquote. So yeah, I'm not surprised that there's some intersection there. That just makes me sad. Because again, it's both of it is preying on desperate people, people that if it's a religious thing, who are looking for answers, who are feeling unfulfilled in their lives for one reason or another, or they're convinced that they're unfulfilled, that they've done something wrong because they have thetans or they're sinning or whatever. It's all the same BS.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
It's also when they call you originally, they never come out and say, I'm trying to get you into X, like Amway or whatever it is. It's always, I've got a business proposition for you. I can't talk to you on the phone. I've got to see you in person, yada, yada, yada. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what, Jamie, I like too, that you're putting your foot down on this, because people feel really uncomfortable stepping on people's religions. I think in this country, at least in America, if someone's trying to sell you something, you should be able to put your foot down right then and there. And most people are pretty like accepted towards like they get that, you know, like they know that you're trying to sell them something. They know that there's a hustle going on. I think that's not looked down upon as much as, like, you know, being critical of religious groups, even if they are bad, and even if they're demonstrably bad. So yeah.
Typically these are friends, so you've got to make sure you're hating the idea and loving the person.
Right. That's true. And I found this, like, when I was telling my story earlier, I straight up told them, like, hey, this has been accused of an MLM before. Here is some documentation about people's experiences. I don't know if you knew this. And like, I think that was helpful in just trying to be as objective as possible in talking about it. Like, hey, I'm just telling you things that I've heard and that I know for people who know more stuff about this than me. So thanks for sharing your story on that, Jamie. That was fun to hear about. And I'm glad lessons were learned. I'm glad we could move on and you know, try to be better people. Right.
Right. Thanks, Dan. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks for calling in,
Thank
Jamie.
you.
Enjoy your Saturday morning.